As we examine the anatomy of the male reproductive system, let's be mindful of the physiology because we know that the two are linked or codependent. The function of the male reproductive system is the production and delivery of gametes during copulation. Copulation is simply sexual intercourse, and the male gamete, of course, are the sperm. The penis is the organ of copulation. The testes are the gonads that produce the gametes, the sperm. The ducts are the tubes or passageway for delivery of sperm. And there are various accessory sex glands that produce secretions into those ducts that facilitate the movement of the sperm or in some way aid it in its ability to fertilize the female gamete, the ovum or egg cell. As we examine the anatomy of the male reproductive system, let's think a little bit about the physiology or function of the male reproductive system, because as you know, anatomy is very much related to function. So the male reproductive system, its function is production and delivery of gametes during copulation. The male gamete, of course, are sperm or spermatozoa, and copulation just refers to sexual intercourse. The penis is the organ of copulation. The testes are the gonads that produce the male gametes or sperm. The ducts are the passageway for delivery of sperm after being produced by the testes. And then there are accessory sex glands that produce secretions into the ducts that facilitate the delivery of the sperm and also aid the sperm in fertilizing the female gamete or ovum. This image from your book shows the sagittal section of a male pelvis. I'm going to use this image to identify the various structures and organs that you're going to have to identify on an image or a model. And I am going to basically follow the pathway of sperm production and sperm delivery out of the male copulatory organ, which is, of course, the penis. So let's start here where sperm is produced by the testis, this sort of egg-shaped structure that is found outside of the abdominal cavity. It hangs in the pubic region outside of the body, and that's because sperm production requires a temperature that is below that of body temperature. The testis is enclosed in a sac called the scrotum. Scrotum means leather because someone thought that from the outside, suppose that the texture of the skin resembled that of leather. So from production in the testis, immature sperm then move into the epididymis. There it is stored until ejaculation. During sexual intercourse, ejaculation occurs, and when that occurs, sperm move from the epididymis into the ductus deferens or vas deferens, and that is this long tube here that extends all the way to here. So all of this is vas deferens or ductus deferens. So sperm moves from epididymis through the ductus deferens, and here it is joined by secretions from the seminal glands. In fact, about 70% of semen is produced by the seminal glands. The substance that is then added to the sperm helps with sperm motility, as well as it facilitates fertilization when that sperm eventually unites with the egg. From the ejaculatory duct, the sperm now entered the urethra. The urethra is a common passageway, in males anyway, for sperm and urine. When ejaculation is not occurring, urine can pass from the urinary bladder into the urethra. When ejaculation is occurring, there's a muscle that prevents that from happening. Also, prior to ejaculation, during copulation, this organ here, called the bulbourethral gland, produces a secretion that neutralizes any urine left in the urethra, and it also, on the outer surface of the penis, provides lubrication to facilitate copulation. That sperm, now with semen, passes through the entire length of the urethra and then out of the penis. So again, testes, where sperm is produced. Sperm is then stored in the epididymis. Both the testis and epididymis is found in this sac called the scrotum. During ejaculation, sperm leaves the epididymis, enters the ductus deferens, and then is delivered into the ejaculatory duct along with secretions from the seminal glands or seminal vesicles. From the ejaculatory duct, the sperm with semen then moves into the urethra. Prior to ejaculation, secretions from the bulbourethral gland have neutralized any urine that was in the urethra, and so during ejaculation, sperm and semen are ejaculated from the penis. I'm going to use this image to identify some additional structures of the male reproductive system. So you're looking at a frontal section of the scrotum, penis, and abdomen. Let's start with the scrotum. So the scrotum, again, is the sac that sits outside of the body. The wall of the sac is composed of skin, and then you've got various layers of connective tissue. Let's look a little more closely at what surrounds the testes. What surrounds the testes are a couple of tunics or coats, and one of those is the tunica vaginalis. Now, it has no relationship to the vagina. It is formed originally during fetal development from a structure called the vaginal process. But the tunica vaginalis, I want you to note here, is just an extension of the peritoneum. Remember, the peritoneum is the lining, the serous membrane that lines the abdominal cavity. Well, it actually extends from the abdominal cavity down into the scrotum, right, to form the tunica vaginalis. Ascending from the testes, of course, is the vas deferens or ductus deferens here. Running alongside the ductus deferens are arteries and veins, right? All this tissue down here has to be supplied with nutrients, and so we need a supply of arteries and also waste products, as well as testosterone, other substances, needs to be able to be circulated in the blood from the testes. And so we have a good supply of blood vessels here, and also autonomic nerve fibers. Well, all of these structures together, the vas deferens, the nerve fibers, the blood vessels, and other supporting tissues collectively form this cord called the spermatic cord. And you can very easily palpate this on the scrotum. This spermatic cord ascends and passes through an opening in this barrier between the abdomen and the scrotum. And this barrier is basically composed mainly of connective tissue that's associated with abdominal muscles. So the aponeuroses of the transverse abdominis, the oblique muscles, etc. All right, but this opening here is forms a little canal through this barrier, and it's referred to as the inguinal canal. Now, this inguinal canal is significant because this is where inguinal hernias form. What you're looking at here is a sagittal view of the scrotum and abdomen, right? So normally there is this barrier between the scrotum and the abdominal cavity, but where you have the spermatic cord passing toward the abdomen, you have a little weakening in this barrier here. And if there is significant bearing down and straining, it can push the small intestines into that canal. And so you have this abnormal bulging of an organ, which is what a hernia is. And this is called the inguinal hernia, and it can bulge into the canal. In severe cases, it can actually enter the scrotum itself. You're not responsible for the details of the inguinal hernia. I only shared this with you so that you understand the significance of the inguinal canal.